Shaming MPs, protesters dump pigs in parliament to protest MPs' pay.
MPs approve Uhuru's cabinet nominees.
Ruto makes case on why he wants ICC trial moved to November.
Uhuru releases billions for security docket, but just who is in charge of our security?
Many thanks for joining us on KTN Prime. Now, public outcry over MPs' attempt to increase their salaries and allowances got to a new level today when civil society groups led massive protests outside Parliament buildings. The protesters dumped pigs in front of Parliament's main entry to symbolize MPs' greed.
Now, the move comes hot on the heels of Salaries and Remuneration Commission's big no to Members of Parliament pay rise demands yesterday. KTN's Sophia Wanuna opens our bulletin tonight with that story.
These were the scenes outside Parliament Tuesday. Various civil society groups protesting against an attempt by MPs to increase their salaries in a demonstration dubbed Occupy Parliament.
We hope that this will put additional pressure on them to be reminded of their duty, which is to serve the people and not to fleece the people.
It is generally Kenyans showing their indignation at the members of parliament continue that onslaught against the SRC.
The protesters stayed put at the main entrance, seeking audience with parliamentarians to submit their petition. And then there were the pigs, who had a bloody meal to keep them put. And on the mama pig, the names of some MPs seem to be the forces behind the push for higher salaries.
And these are the dramatic pictures here outside Parliament buildings as a section of Kenyans walked around the streets and have ended their protest right outside Parliament buildings to protest the move by members of Parliament to increase their salaries and disband the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. They're terming that move by members of Parliament as greedy.
The protesters who had started their procession at Uhuru Park's Freedom Corner marched through the central business district, carrying placards with clear messages to MPs.
The people who are progressive in parliament, they're being swallowed by the greedy people who are in parliament. So the whole idea is Kenyans are uniting to tell them enough is enough, we're tired.
With the scheduled afternoon session, some members of parliament had a difficult time accessing the parliament building, forcing police to swing into action, dispersing the crowds. A few of the demonstrators were arrested and taken to the parliament police station. And as to whether such a protest will bear fruit,
it's a beginning. Change doesn't come in one day, so it will happen.
The clamour by MPs for higher pay has received sharp criticism from Kenyans, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, as well as President Uhuru Kenyatta. The Salaries Commission says such a move is not sustainable. Sophia Wanuna, KTN.
So you watch the protests, you watch the drama, the running around, the tear gas. Of course, that story leads us to a big question tonight, and we're asking you, do you support today's protest against MPs' pay rise demands?
Do you support today's protest against Members of Parliament pay rise demands? Well, send your yes or no response with a brief comment to the number 8040. And actually, to that story, Linda, there are animal rights groups who are very pissed off with the protesters using pigs. We'll be giving you details as to what they said. But let's just move on to another story here, where the National Assembly has this evening approved all of President Uhuru Kenyatta's 16 Cabinet Secretary nominees.
In a heated debate that was conducted well past Parliament sitting hours, MPs amended the report by the Committee on Appointments that had recommended the rejection of Phyllis Kandie, the nominee for East African Community Affairs, Commerce and Tourism. KTN's Rita Tinina has the story.
When the report by the Committee on Appointments was tabled before the House, it gave a clean bill to 15 of the 16 Cabinet Secretary nominees and rejected one.
This House rejects the appointment of Mrs. Phyllis Jebkosgei Kipkingor Kandie.
What followed was a session characterized by numerous points of orders as members sought to know why the committee had rejected Phyllis Kandie.
The only issue that this committee faulted one nominee for Commerce, East Africa and Tourism, the nominee, Madame Kandie, was on her performance when she appeared publicly before the committee.
Which is knowledge of relevant subject.
Because of the way she answered her questions.
She was only fairly shy.
The reasons for rejection for this particular lady, to me, were not convincing.
This committee is a disgrace.
An amendment to include Kandie in the list of nominees approved by the committee was moved by the Nairobi County Women Representative Rachel Shebesh.
Was she panicky?
Moses of old, Mr. Speaker, was a stammerer. It did not stop him, Mr. Speaker, from leading the people of Israel to Canaan, Mr. Speaker.
And after a brief debate,
Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? Yes. The ayes have it.
members approved Kandie's nomination alongside the 15 other nominees. And just like the debate on Kandie, the amended report generated a heated debate.
My proposition, Mr. Speaker, is that this entire list be rejected by the House.
It does not justify why 2 ethnic communities can get 4 nominees while others do not have.
In terms of ethnic representation, this thing is skewed.
The House had to extend its sitting hours to discuss the report, and one by one,
Mrs. Phyllis Jebkosgei Kipkingor Kandie for the Ministry of East African Affairs, Commerce and Tourism. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
The House approved President Uhuru Kenyatta's choice of 16 cabinet secretaries. The approval now allows the president to formally appoint the nominees to his first cabinet. Rita Tinina, KTN.
Let's stay with that story, and question is the ability to communicate effectively an indicator of one's ability to deliver in a given position? This is the question that begs after the Committee on Appointments rejected Phyllis Kandie, the nominee for Cabinet Secretary, East African Affairs, Commerce and Tourism.
Now, members of Parliament who debated the issue this afternoon said she had appeared shy during the vetting exercise and therefore did not present herself well. But others argue that this is not enough to disqualify one from taking up that position.
One by one, in the course of 3 days, 16 nominees for the positions of Cabinet Secretary took their place in the hot seat. All but one would get a nod. President Uhuru Kenyatta's pick for Cabinet Secretary for East African Affairs, Commerce and Tourism, Phyllis Kandie, it would emerge, had failed to convince committee members that she was up to the task ahead.
In terms of education.
The vetting board had looked at academic qualifications, knowledge about the subject, suitability and integrity. The 48-year-old has a Bachelor of Commerce and an MBA from Middlesex University in the United Kingdom. An investment banker currently serving as a director for investment advisory services at Standard Investment Bank after a stint at the Capital Markets Authority, Kandie's credentials cannot be ignored. So what could have felled Phyllis Kandie? Well, it is reported that committee members felt that she was shy and did not express herself well.
Me and my department, as it will be called, to actually represent the trade issues.
The committee is clear that the only reason they have rejected her is because she was stammering. She was not answering as quickly as she should have been answering.
The ability to communicate is a vital skill in interviews, but questions abound as to whether it is indicative of the ability to deliver.
Many times, interviews fail even the very best brains and people, because sometimes people get intimidated, sometimes they come maybe ill-prepared.
Or is the opposition the result of a push and pull between those who would see the list of nominees sail through and those seeking to throw a spanner in the works? The debate surrounding the nomination of Phyllis Kandie and her shy demeanor now taking the country back to a different place and time, when the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs rejected proposed nominees to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission over just one thing: lack of passion.
Passion for the job. There is no passionometer.
Even then, there was no measure of passion, just as there is no measure of Kandie's shyness. Wilkis Anyabwa, KTN Prime.
Right, let's cross borders now. And the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has objected to the request by Deputy President William Ruto to have his trial postponed till November this year. The prosecution says it would be excessive to make victims and witnesses wait till that time for the case against Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang to begin. At the same time, Ruto and Sang have opposed the prosecutor's request to add 5 new witnesses to the case. KTN's Noah Otieno with more on that story.
The Deputy President William Ruto and radio presenter Joshua Arap Sang voiced their rejection of the prosecution's request to bring back 2 witnesses withdrawn in January this year and to introduce 3 totally new witnesses. Through their lawyers Karim Khan and Katwa Kigen, Ruto and Sang said the prosecution is constantly trying to salvage a collapsing case by bringing new evidence.
They were not able to satisfy the protection measures they allege obtained in that instance, and therefore dropped the 2 witnesses. They have subsequently now come before you and asked you to allow their introduction. Madam President and Your Honors, we submit that if you allow the introduction of these 2 witnesses, it will render useless your initial decision in which you told them to act within a given timeline.
The prosecution revealed that they have found crucial new evidence against Ruto and Sang in their interviews with the 5 witnesses they seek to bring. Ruto, through his lawyer, also put up a spirited fight to have the trial postponed to November and to be allowed to attend his trial via video link. The prosecution vehemently opposed both requests.
Trust us, as experienced counsel, when we say we need additional time. We have the right to adequate time and facilities. The facilities have been provided. We're working as hard as we can work, 7 days a week, literally. But we need time. And if we don't get time, justice will be in peril in this case.
It is the prosecution's view that these are very serious crimes that deserve serious attention, and they require the physical presence of the accused at trial. The security situation and the special circumstances surrounding this case should also be considered. And balancing those, we believe that a trial date of November would be excessive.
Ruto himself told the court that he would personally cooperate with the court to the logical conclusion of the case against him.
I am aware that my responsibilities to the court as an individual must be balanced by my constitutional responsibilities as Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya.
The status conference continues Wednesday at noon Kenyan time, but Ruto and Sang were allowed to travel back home immediately. Now, KTN Prime.
Well, 2 other matters making headlines today. The rising insecurity in the country has now drawn the attention of President Uhuru Kenyatta, who this evening ordered the release of 4 billion Kenya shillings for the purchase of equipment to aid in the war against insecurity. The president said the amount will be an annual allocation to boost security in the country. The president also made the announcement after being briefed on security situation in the country by Police Inspector General David Kemayo. But with rampant insecurity in the country and a cabinet secretary in charge of internal security yet to be named, many are just asking, who is in charge of our security? Well, we'll have that story by Aaron Ochieng a little bit later, but what you can... All right. Let's air the story, by the way. Let's air the story. I'm being told it's on. Let's air the story right now.
After the naming of the 16 cabinet nominees by the president, 2 slots remained vacant, one of them being that of the Cabinet Secretary for Interior Affairs and Coordination. This is the ministry that is in charge of internal security in the land. It goes without saying that the general security of the country is now at a sorry state, with the waves of terror by marauding thugs who continue to terrorize Kenyans in different parts of the country.
Where is the government while all this is happening? Where are the security machinery?
You cannot commit a crime today, a crime tomorrow, a crime after, and almost taking the same pattern. And yet we have got security organs. That tells you somebody is sleeping on his job.
The counties of Bungoma, Busia, Mandera, Tana River and Nairobi have lost a number of individuals following the attacks, and the police are yet to contain the situation. And in fact, it has become a trend that whenever an area is attacked, the Inspector General and other security organs visit the area to assure the residents that all is under control. On the second day of this month, 2 days after a criminal gang attacked residents of Bungoma, the Deputy Inspector General of Police Grace Kaindi, AP Commandant Samuel Arachi, and CID Director Ndegwa Muhoro visited Bungoma and held several closed-door security meetings just for the gang to emerge the following day, killing 4 people and maiming several others. The Deputy President and the Inspector General himself have also visited some of the volatile regions, and all they have given is a mere assurance.
We have agreed on a comprehensive plan on how to rein in the runaway insecurity in these 2 counties.
We are no longer a police force. We are now National Police Service, ambayo tuna provide services kwa wananchi. Sio kwamba tunapigana na hawa, tunatuchana nao.
Are the police running short of ideas on how to combat crime, or is it that they lack leadership? Why has the president not named the cabinet nominee in charge of security? Are the billions of taxpayers' shillings that is spent by the intelligence unit going to waste? These are some of the pressing questions by members of the public. Meanwhile, the police has issued a 3-day ultimatum to criminal gangs and individuals who could be holding arms illegally to surrender to the police, after which the police will use necessary means to get rid of the arms. Aaron Ocheng, KTN.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us, and it's time for our first break. But before we take that break, a reminder to our big question: do you support today's protests against members of parliament's pay rise demands?
Of course, that is our top question tonight. You saw the protests earlier on today, so let us know what you think. Send your brief comment to the number 8040. Of course, we will sample some of your views at the tail end of this newscast and give you the poll results as well.
You are indeed watching KTN Prime, and just ahead.
Just ahead on KTN Business Today, Safaricom is once again the most profitable company across the region. And also we'll let you know how pump prices have gone down by about 4 Kenya shillings. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Join me on this edition of KTN Business Today.
You're watching KTN Prime. Thank you so much for staying with us.
Welcome back. Now, the 11 girls and the foreigner who were arrested over the weekend in Mombasa for engaging in prostitution activities were today arraigned in court.
The foreigner, who was charged with exploiting prostitution intentionally for his own gain and living on prostitution earnings. The girls were charged with living on earnings of prostitution.
The girls were released on a 100,000 shilling bond each, while the foreigner was released on a 1 million bond shilling. Now, the case, which will be heard on 4th of July 2013, has sent tongues wagging across the country, shocking many.
Of course, KTN's Najma Ismail spoke to a behavioral expert and also sought the views of Kenyans on what could possibly lead young girls into activities such as prostitution. Take a look.
We spoke to Dr. Pius Mutie, who is a sociologist at the University of Nairobi, who says prostitution is one of the old professions in history. He says that our African values have weakened and morals in the society have been eroded.
The family is in a crisis in Kenya, I would say.
many marriages today are empty shell marriages. And that has a lot to do with some of the socio-economic changes that have taken place over time.
Many are also of the opinion that university students engage more in this vice due to economic hardships.
It's mostly because they lack, let's say, pocket money. They are not given enough money and they have to survive, maybe peer pressure.
The reason why most students engage in prostitution is because of financial problems. You see, most of these campus students, whenever they come from home, they are given some little pocket money.
Dr. Mutie says it's not out of the ordinary for university students to engage in prostitution, since many institutions admit more than they can accommodate, forcing students to look for alternative means of making ends meet. He also blames the rich in the society who go looking for university students to exploit them sexually. So what can be done to reduce this in our institutions?
Maybe it's time the university authorities looked at this matter again. Do we still continue with the cafeteria system where students are supposed to go and buy food and survive on some meager loan, and that which should last them a whole term? You know, you can imagine if an adult cannot actually manage money within a month. What about 3 months?
With many blaming the social economic problems that are currently facing the society, the question begs, what can the government do to end this vice? Najma Ismail, KTN.
Thank you for staying with KTN. We are taking a short break, and in just a few minutes, Joy Doreen Mbira will be joining you with the day's business news.
And right after JD is here with the business news, Nicholas Mudimba will be here with sports.
Stay with us.
Today we'll tell you what the Rugby Sevens team is focusing after the last leg in London, and of course more on the changes at the Athletics Kenya, and we'll tell you all.
Is Joy Doreen Mbira. Now, of course, it is rumored that if one had $1 billion shillings to spend, he or she could break it down to an average of 100,000 shillings per day and still last several months. Now, listed mobile network operator Safaricom today reported a 25 billion shilling pre-tax profit. And this is historic here. If you could come with me over here and take a look at these zeros, it actually amounts to about 25 billion shillings. But if you broke it down and comfortably looked at just what this means for a country like Kenya, you realize that this 25 billion shillings could actually do quite a lot for the country. And first of all, it can actually buy one radiotherapy machine for every county. That would cost about 154 million shillings, and that would actually total to about 7.24 billion shillings. But the same amount of money could also buy one MRI machine for each county. That would go for 84 million shillings each, and if you total it up, it would go up to about 4 billion shillings. And also it could buy 2 CT scan machines for each county, that each would go for about 166.8 million shillings each, totaling to about 1.56 billion shillings. Also, if we looked at this amount of money and what it can do, it can build about 5 schools in each county, and of course that would actually cost about 1.04 million shillings each, totaling to about 244.4 million, and it would also hire about 35,000 teachers, totaling to about 12.6 billion shillings. Now the total would also get to the roundup of 25 billion shillings that Safaricom did register in pre-tax profits. But also this same amount of money can actually cater for the Jubilee government's campaign that actually did talk about a laptop for each child in class 1, and this amount of money would cater for that in about a year. It would also build a super highway the size or the equivalent of Thika Road super highway, and well, there we go. But also let's compare Safaricom's pre-tax profit of about 25 billion shillings as compared to commercial institutions that did register their pre-tax profits this year. Equity Bank registered 17.42 billion shillings, Kenya Commercial Bank registered 17.2 billion shillings, and Barclays registered about 13.2
1.02 billion shillings. And this actually leaves Safaricom as the giant firm in terms of pre-tax profit registration here. Now, this makes it, of course, the biggest firm to register this amount of money, giving it the top position not only in Kenya but across the East African region. In more business, and still keeping it with Safaricom, Safaricom has recorded a 39% increase in profitability following a stellar year that saw revenues grow across its business lines. During its 2012-2013 financial year, net profit grew to 17.5 billion shillings from the 12.6 billion recorded last year. The growth, the firm said, continues to be driven by its voice revenues, but data and M-Pesa are quickly becoming bedrock for its profits. We have more.
In the last 1 year, Safaricom has reversed a marginal 4% dip in net profits, which stood at 12.6 billion shillings, growing it substantially to 17.5 billion shillings. This was largely driven by a 16% growth in revenue, which stood at 124 billion shillings. Broken down, voice revenue grew by 12.6% to 77.6 billion, while non-voice revenue grew by 29% to 40.4 billion shillings. Safaricom's M-Pesa business grew revenues by 29.5% to 21.8 billion shillings, while registered customers stood at 17 million.
A strong performance has enabled us to continue a substantial investment, as the Chairman said, in our network and into innovative products and services. And this in turn has resulted in improved customer satisfaction levels and high usage of all of our products and services.
To grow the business, Safaricom is investing 10 billion shillings on its 550-kilometer metro fiber network to improve quality of services, as well as upgrade most of its cell sites to 3G. The operator currently has 1,600 3G sites, as well as 2,900 2G sites. To have greater control of the M-Pesa network, Safaricom is currently investing heavily to have the M-Pesa platform built in Kenya and will be operational by mid-2014.
We've embarked on an 18-month program to implement a new M-Pesa system here in Kenya with multiple system redundancy options across geographies.
Upon releasing the results, Safaricom shares surged 36% during the day's trading. As part of investor proceeds, shareholders are expected to earn a dividend of 31 cents per share, with total payout coming to 12.4 billion shillings, the highest in corporate Kenya history. Michael Karanja, KTN Business Today.
Now, of course, before we can take a look at the financial markets, let's just let you know that also fuel prices have gone down by about 4 shillings, and petrol prices are down by 4.41 shillings a litre. Diesel has gone down by 5.38 a litre, while kerosene has gone down by 4.3 shillings. Now, this means that fuel prices will, of course, go down across the major cities, Nairobi, Kisumu, and Mombasa. Mombasa enjoying the cheapest prices ever for the next 30 days. Now, let's take a look at how the money market is doing, the Kenya shilling and the Nairobi Securities Exchange. My name is Joy Doreen Bira, and well, Nicholas Mudimba is coming up with KTN Sport Today.